Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone this evening? I'm so excited that we are all here again. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Friday. And for those of you who are new here, I am Alicia Johnson, and this is my channel. Welcome to our channel. This is day five of the Always Journal for Forgiveness Challenge. And so, if you've been here all week, you know that we have been working through this process of forgiveness, which is a process that everyone needs to go through. And so, if you can just kind of let me know, I know earlier in the week we were actually having problems with me sounding like a chipmunk. I think I sounded like a chipmunk on Monday, and we had some volume issues and some glitching and all of that. So, is the volume better tonight? Is everything sounding better? If you can just kind of give me a thumbs up or let me know that we're cooking with gas now. So, this is a process, and thank you all for being a part of this process. So, we are here. And tonight we are actually entering into day five of the forgiveness work. And so, for those of you who have a journal already, you can follow along with me. For those of you who are just chiming in, you can listen in and get today's prompt, and we will just start moving from there. So, someone says it's still odd on their end. Um, how is it sounding for everybody else? Is it sounding okay? It's still glitchy on your end as well. Okay, so we're we're gonna have to still work this out. So just bear with me. I pray that it's not too glitchy. So I think that was too kind of glitchy, and someone else said still glitchy. Okay. So we will have to over the weekend we will continue to work this out to see what is going on. Okay. Well, okay, one monkey don't stop no show, so we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep trying to figure this out. So my voice is going in and out. Okay. All right. So it is what it is. Here we are. So we're just going to dive on in. So today we are at day five, and today we are discussing forgiving yourself. And today's assignment is reread your dedication so that you will remain pinpoint accurate in your journaling focus. Take time today and list every area of your life that requires some degree of self forgiveness. Why? Making a complete list of the areas requiring self forgiveness will enable you to freely and willingly address the areas in which forgiveness is needed for others. We must begin to see ourselves in everyone we meet. Benefit. The benefit of forgiving yourself is that it allows you to become malleable in the hands of heaven. Forgiving yourself enables heaven to stretch, mold, and shape you into the incredible being you were created to be. Tonight, let's talk about forgiving ourselves. This is a one. This is a big one. So we have dedicated our journal. We have written a letter from God to ourselves. We have created our new life, a day in our new life, and we have learned how to follow the clues. Now, today is the day that we are going to get to work. We are going to start to dive in and do what needs to be done in order to move through this thing called forgiveness. Forgiving yourself. That's a big one. That is a big one. And this is one that I had to really take ownership of. I had to really delve into, and I really had to understand the power that I possessed as it related to healing. So, for those of you, a lot of you who are familiar with the work that I do and familiar with the community, you guys know my story and know my husband, our story. But for those of you who are new here, who will be popping in, who will be checking us out over the course of time, one of the things that you have to know is that forgiveness work was a huge deal as it relates to the healing process that I had to go through. And so one of the things is that I personally, my husband and I, obviously, with our story and stuff, we had marriage problems. We had marriage problems. And in our marriage, I was the one to kick it off. Okay. I was the one to kick it off. So I had an affair first. And so, with that being said, there was a lot of guilt riddled. I was riddled with guilt. I was riddled with shame. I was, oh, just so depressed and just so angry with myself for ruining what or thought ruining our marriage and doing all of those things. So I carried a huge burden. I carried a huge burden as it related to the state of our relationship. One of the things that I found very interesting was that when I really wanted to do the work and really do my part in the healing process, one of the things that I did, everyone, you always take everything to God in prayer. That's the one thing that you taught. Take it to the Lord in prayer. So I took it to the Lord in prayer and I prayed on it. And so, in praying and asking heaven for forgiveness, God forgives. God is like the master of forgiving. Everything is a good thing if you allow heaven in it. And I petitioned heaven, I prayed, I asked, and God said, "Yes, you are forgiven." But one of the things I had to realize was that over the course of a period of time, because I was still so guilt ridden, that every time my husband would walk into a room, every time he would cross my path, every time we would kind of see each other, I was kind of, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Do you forgive me? Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Are you still mad with me? It was a consistent thing. There was not a day for a period of time that went by that I was not asking for forgiveness. And it was one day in my prayer and meditation time that God instructed me, and it was so powerful. It was so poignant. And the last time that I asked my husband, I was like, will you forgive me? And God was like, when you asked heaven, when you asked God, when you asked for forgiveness, when did I forgive you? And in my spirit, God was like, I said, the first time. God was like, exactly. You are now making your husband your God. I was like, ooh. So from that day to this one, I haven't apologized about that thing again because I am truly forgiven indeed. And so the reason that I share that story is because there is absolutely nothing too big for heaven to forgive. I have done prison ministry. I have worked with people who have done and committed egregious crimes, murder, rape, just all sorts of things. And to be in an environment of people that understand the power of forgiveness and are able to do the time, if you will, in a very positive way, that is very powerful. But in order to obtain true forgiveness, you have got to learn to receive that forgiveness for yourself. Receiving forgiveness for yourself is one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself. Receiving forgiveness for yourself. And this is how it works. And this is so powerful because with anything as it relates to the spiritual work, with anything that relates to like the spiritual maturation process, you will not, I repeat again and again and again and again, you will not go from 0 to 60 overnight. To simply say that you forgive, to simply say that you've let it go, doesn't necessarily mean that you have truly let it go. It means that you have positioned yourself to let it go. And what I mean by that is that you have to allow yourself to experience forgiveness at the same depth of the pain. So the forgiveness has to go. If the pain was really deep, then the forgiveness work has to go really deep. You're not going to just say, I forgive you, or you forgive yourself one time, and then it's going to be gone. I would like to say that I did all of my forgiveness work at one time and everything was swoop like a magic wand, everything was healed, but it wasn't. But the beautiful part of the self forgiveness work is that heaven wants to assist you and heaven wants to guide you through the process. Now, heaven's techniques for forgiveness or towards forgiveness are a little bit non conventional. Heaven wants to prove to you that you have been forgiven, but the way that heaven proves to you that you have been forgiven and that you have moved on and that you have risen higher is that heaven will continue to represent the situation or similar situations, to represent you with similar situations over and over and over again until they no longer bother you. If you have been offended or been in a situation where you have carried an offense for about, let's say, 5 or 10 years, maybe in some cases even longer, you're not just going to, now it could happen. I don't count God out on anything. It could happen. You could wake up one day and be like, hey, I am done with this. I'm moving on. That's it. But for the average person, it's going to take a few passes of that thing in order for you to know that you have been forgiven, that you have forgiven yourself. And what that looked like for me and what that looked like for both of us, my husband and I, in the beginning, when you start to forgive yourself and when you start to allow the healing to begin, you've got to take baby steps. You've got to take baby steps and you've got to do things that are, how can I put it, convincing to you and convincing to other people that you have changed. So I'm speaking from the perspective of relationships, but it also applies to your finances. It also applies to your career. It also applies to a lot of different things. So let's just take the relationship spectrum. You and your significant other have done some pretty crappy things to each other. So now you're at the place where you've realized, and a lot of times, a lot of this comes with age, okay? A lot of this comes with age because when you get to be a certain age, and forgiveness work takes on a whole nother dynamic the older that you get. So for the young people out here who may cross this channel, like my big mama used to say, just keep on living, baby. Just keep on living. You'll understand. If you don't understand right now, you're going to understand one day real soon. But the older that you get, prayerfully, this don't happen to everybody, okay? This don't happen to everybody that ages. But the older that you get, you begin to realize how much time you waste being angry. You do not have your heart, your mind, your spirit, your inner man does not have the capacity to house both love and anger. A house divided amongst itself cannot stand. So if you're forgiving in one area and unforgiving in another area, then that cancels it out. You can't be lukewarm in this thing. You got to be all in. And the older that you get, you will begin to realize that a lot of the time that you used to waste on those insignificant things, and things become very insignificant the older that you get, and you realize how much you want and need to accomplish before you leave this planet Earth. So you get real serious about that thing. I do not have time. I do not have any time to waste on being unforgiving. I do not have 1 second of time to waste being angry with anyone, because I personally have too much work to do. If you find that you do have the opportunity and you feel you do have the time to carry grudges and you do have the time to hold on to things, and I challenge you today, you're living too small. You are living so small that you can take all of your life force, all of your life energy, all of the spirit, everything, every breath in your body, every morsel of being within you, and you have the audacity to think that you can waste all of that on something that is so insignificant that over the course of time is not going to even matter. Just stop. Just stop today. That was the one thing that I really had to come to terms with. And once I started to get the hang of the forgiveness thing, see, you're not going to get the hang of it in the beginning because you got to keep going through, but heaven does its part. And so, what heaven would do for me, heaven would continually, and with my husband too, heaven would continually give us opportunities to rebuild and to build up that trust muscle, to build up that forgiveness muscle. So you can't say that you have turned away, you've done a complete 180 away from that situation, and your cell phone is locked. You can't do that. See, there are certain things in a relationship after you have crossed that line, after you have breached the trust, after you have destroyed that, there are just certain things you can't do anymore. You can't just leave home and disappear for like 4 hours at a time and not be in contact. You can't do that no more. You cannot step outside and have secret conversations with people that your spouse is not aware of. And heaven will give you the opportunity over and over and over and over and over again to build that back up. Now, my husband and I, we're in a good space now, but it took us some time to get there. Like sometimes it's like he leaves the house and I'm like, oh, I'm happy I got the whole house to myself. And he'll be like, I'm leaving. I'll be back. God, it's okay. Go ahead. I'll see you. I'll see you when you get back. I'm good. But that's because we've gotten to that place of healing, of self-forgiveness and forgiving each other. In your career, the same thing, your job, your day gig. The way that looks on your day gig is when you are asking heaven for a promotion, okay? You're asking heaven, expand my territory, increase my territory, do this, do that for me, Lord. I want more. And God was like, you don't even know what to do with the little that you have. And when heaven is upfront and honest with you, you can't even be mad. And then you may have a tendency to feel bad. I could be further along in my career if I had I could be further along in this. I coulda, shoulda. And then you start getting down on yourself, and people have a tendency to compare themselves to other people, and on it goes. But when you get to a place of forgiving yourself, and this, I love to use this little tool. I had mentioned it. I do so many of these calls, so maybe I mentioned it on one of these calls, maybe not. But I used to watch a lot of Lifetime movie network and a lot of those, crazy shows like Snapped and what are some of the other ones? For My Man and what are those? Oh, those other things. Fatal Attraction, all of those, right? That's where my mind is. So my husband, at one point when we were in a bad space, we used to have a TV in our room. We took the TV out of our room because it was just such a distraction. But he would sit there like, should I sleep with one eye open or what? Like I don't even know what this is. Cause I be getting, like there's certain ways that you can get rid of a body and not be traced. It's like certain things that you can do. I'm like, I'm not big enough, I don't think, to like hide a whole body, but I got the ideas. So with those things, you have to understand that there's some work that needs to be done. There's work that needs to be done. And so I digress, but back to the career piece. So you've asked God for the career, you've asked God to promote you, you've asked God to do all of these things, but heaven will bring to your remembrance that you want me to increase you, but you don't even get to your job on time. See, I was that person. I would always want all of the bonuses and all of the things that they were giving out. I would want everything, right? But I didn't want the responsibility. I did not want the responsibility. And so heaven had to really work with me on understanding that in order to rise higher in the things of heaven, you have got to learn to be more responsible. You have got to be willing to do more. If you want more from heaven, you got to be willing to do more. So I really had to forgive myself as it related to how I handled positions in the past. I handled positions so poorly in the past that I was like, well, I don't even deserve a promotion at this point. I'm just not a good employee. I'm just not good. I could have done. And then you go the other direction and you start to feel really bad for yourself. Forgive yourself. And the reason I brought up those snap shows and those fatal attraction shows, because you will watch those women, right? They will do some crazy stuff like burning houses down and stabbing people. How you gonna stab somebody 72 times? I didn't realize I got out of control. Like, what? But the funny thing is that a lot of those shows, you'll read it at the end because you want to know what happened, right? And they'll say stuff like the person pled insanity or they got a lower sentence because they were not in the right frame of mind. On earth as it is in heaven, for everything in the natural, there's a parallel and corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. If people can do that here on earth, then we can do it in heaven. So in my prayer time, and y'all, it works, y'all try it for yourselves. In my prayer time, I'd be like, Lord, you know what? I know I did. I acted a pure D fool. I sure did. I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. But I didn't know everything that I know now. So I like to plead insanity. Okay. I like to plead insanity. And heaven says, bam, that celestial gavel will be hit. And God says, time served. Time served. Allow yourself to have fun with this forgiveness work because you can run, but you can't hide. At some point in your life, if you want to go higher in any area, I don't care what area it is, if it's pay attention for those who've had babies, for those who've had like extreme pain, for those who have been in position. What do they say? What is the one word that they say? Relax. Relax. Relax, meaning that you allow your body to become less rigid, to allow your body to become forgiving and to sort of accommodate the pain. You breathe. There are people that are breatharians, like they have specialties in breathing, different breathing techniques, and that's a very fascinating process. You should really read. Maybe I'll put a link up here next week, but to learn how to breathe differently and to breathe deeply and to breathe through situations in certain ways is so powerful. It like I don't know all the science behind it. I don't know how to even explain it, but I know it works. I know it works. But to get in harmony with your body, to allow your body to relax, to allow your body to be forgiving, that's one of the biggest clues. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you feel when you are sitting at your desk and you're all tense and you're hunched over and your shoulders start to get rigid and you are constantly leaning in and your joints and all of those things. Pay attention. Your body wants to be in a relaxed state physically. So, how much greater is that forgiveness spiritually and mentally? Pay attention to what you instinctively want to do when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel stressed. You want to just step away, you want to release, you want to take a walk, you want to just close your eyes for a minute, you want to forgive. You want to be at peace. And that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself. So, tonight, as you're going into your evening, and tomorrow we will not have a session. This is going to be Monday through Friday. So, for those who are catching the replay, you can take this weekend to re listen to days 1, 2, 3, 4, and even today. And it will behoove you greatly if you have people in your life that need the forgiveness work. You can just kind of let it play in the background and, it'll get through the ethers and they'll kind of catch on or whatever. Everybody needs forgiveness work, whether they admit to it or not. So y'all have fun with this. I've enjoyed this week, and prayerfully over the weekend, we're going to work even more to kind of get more of the glitchiness out of this process. So we are learning as we go, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for those that are reaching out and those that are taking part in this forgiveness work. And I'm very excited about some of the other things that we will be bringing here and sharing with the world. I love teaching. I love sharing. I love all things that advance people. I love all things that advance us. I love all things that get us unstuck. We're all in this together. We are all in this together. And when one person rises, we all need to rise. This should not be where I got mine, you go figure out how to get yours. And this is how heaven works. And I said this earlier, and I keep repeating it. I keep repeating it because this is the only story I got. I made a promise. I made a true promise to God that if you show me how to turn this around, all of this mess, all of this fraggle naggle bull, everything that I have created that is not of you, if you show me how to turn this around, I'm squealing like a pig. I am squealing like a pig, and I am telling everybody who crosses my path, like, give me a megaphone or something. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to tell it all. Because God doesn't just bless you to keep it to yourself. God's blessings are infinite. The more that I give, the more heaven gives to me. The more that you give, the more heaven will give to you. The more that you share, the more heaven will share with you. That is why I'm so excited. Fresh manna every day. Fresh manna every day. So take what you've learned this week. Take what you've learned this week and pack it on up in your toolbox and carry it with you everywhere you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Happy Friday to you. So, next Friday, I think I'm gonna no, not next Friday. So I think next week sometime. Okay, let's make this the thing. So on Friday nights, when we do our Friday night calls, when we do our Friday night YouTubes, we can all like have wine or something. We can like bring our glasses of wine because I don't have to work the next day. Because if I drink wine like the night before work, I may not log into work, but maybe we can do that. This will be our Friday night, like wine and chill. Okay, so we'll do something like that. So next time we will do like wine and we'll just have a good old Friday evening kickback or something like that. But until then, y'all have a good weekend. I love you all, and I will see y'all next week. Sweet dreams.